that's the part I'll keep.
Okay. First, thank you for coming. I know the traffic down here, we had a couple guys who were here early, some guys caught traffic. So I appreciate you coming, making the effort to get here. We hope that the next 90 minutes or so, we're going to kind of enlighten you with some things that we're seeing in the marketplace, that our partners are doing in order to help reduce risk, save time, save money in your business. My name is Rick O'Brien. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing for MTM Technologies. And I'm going to kick it off to kind of get us mentally into the right arena here. And then we're going to hear from our partners. The first partner we're going to talk to that's going to come up and share with you is VMware and Peter Davies. Peter Davies back in the room here. And after Peter, we're going to have our friends from Citrix join us. And Van Lerton is in the back here. Van's going to talk to us. Just in the room here, we have from MTM, we have Jim Cavadillas. Some of you may know Jim. Jim is one of our sales executives, covers mostly commercial in Maryland. Paul Misner over here with the camera. Paul is our account executive that covers a lot of Virginia federal government space. And Caprice Costa. Caprice, our field marketing manager. So anything you need today, Caprice will probably give you the answer. As far as the bathrooms go, you guys saw them. We made it real convenient for you today. You hardly have anywhere to walk. Just don't wait too long. It's right around the corner here. Okay? A couple of housekeeping items too. We're going to have, at the end of the session today, we're going to have what we call a call to action. And a call to action is an opportunity, once you hear what we have to say about virtualization technologies, it's an opportunity to, at no charge, have us come out and do a 2-hour workshop. MTM will do a 2-hour workshop. We'll come out and assess your environment, basically ask you a lot of questions, and be able to give you an idea of how you might be able to deploy these technologies. You know, what it's going to take for you to do it, what kind of scope we're talking about. And if you sign up for the call to action, we're going to provide you this 256 megabit thumb drive, and all the presentations that you see today will be on there. Okay? We're also, if you do that, we're also going to be raffling off. Your chances are pretty good, because we meant for this to be a nice intimate event. Your chances are pretty good to win an iPod Nano. Anybody that signs up for that and fills out our survey, anybody have kids? You can't have enough of these, right? You can't have enough of them. And they don't last real long either. You guys notice that? You guys have anybody go broke yet?
No.
No?
I got 2 of them.
They're still working for you? I was told that the batteries in these things just go bad after about 18 months, 24 months. We'll see. Mine doesn't go bad. Okay, so that's the housekeeping items. Virtualize now. Anybody currently deploying virtualization technologies? It's a nebulous term. Somebody? Okay. Can you flip it? Okay, so what I'm going to cover is just kind of get it again in the mental arena. What is virtualization? Virtualization is one of those words like infrastructure. Like, what's it mean? It means something different to everybody. So we're going to take a crack at kind of defining what it is that we're talking about here today. Obviously, we're going to get technically deeper in some of the specific solutions, namely VMware with their virtual server technology and Citrix with their access. Questions and answers, and then a call to action. Okay, virtualization. This is our crack at our definition of what we'd like to say virtualization is. Basically, it's the opportunity to separate your applications, your operating systems, your componentry, separating the components, separating the knowledge or the data and the information from the hardware. Okay? There's server virtualization, application virtualization, and storage virtualization. When you think of storage virtualization, we're talking mostly about storage area networks, network-attached storage, right? Consolidating your data, getting it off of your servers, getting it away from your applications. Why would you want to do this? Lower total cost of ownership. That's huge. How many people buy more than 2 servers a month in your organizations? Anybody? About there? About 24 new ones a year to manage and everything? Higher resource utilization is an obvious one. Why do you want to virtualize? Increase the operating efficiency, improve manageability and control. Most organizations that we, MTM, speak to don't have a lot of budget to add more people, to add more headcount. Does anybody have the ability to add more headcount in your organization? Kind of a funny one, right? Kind of a joke. Another thing we see is if you're a medium to large size organization today, 70% of your operating budget is probably consumed by maintenance. Maintenance and support, right? This is just paying the bills. This is paying the bill stuff. So when one of your business units comes to you and says, hey, I'd like to be able to do this, I'd like to be able to have competitive advantage in this area. Your budget isn't what you think it is, right? Because a lot of your money's already spoken for. So when I think of virtualization, when we think of virtualization, it's one of these things that you need to have in your back pocket to be able to support your business and doing the new projects and new initiatives, but also keep your business running. I got to give MTM a plug because some of you guys certainly know us. This is the only plug you'll hear. I got to do it. It's in my blood. And it's kind of stream of consciousness, right? But we are a publicly traded company, MTM. We have 27 offices around the country today, over 750 employees, about a $300 million run rate. And what we are is we're an IT management and consulting firm. Okay, so we work with partners like VMware, Citrix, and others to help you to deploy strategic technologies that are going to make a difference. In the area of Citrix, we are one of Citrix's platinum partners. So a lot of the partners use the metals, gold, silver, bronze. In the platinum world, Van, correct me, there's 29 platinum partners in the country, so we are one of them. I know we're one of the largest ones when you look at it.
40 out of 25, out of 2,500 partners, so that's why.
40, okay. So we're one of the 40 in Citrix. What that means is, it means that we've invested substantial time and money in building the Citrix knowledge about all around their access infrastructure. We've invested in our customers, and we do a lot of business in that environment. So that's what that means. In the case of VMware, we're a VMware authorized partner. We have in the VMware world, to get certified, you become what they call a VCCP, which is VMware
Certified Professional.
There you go. Maybe I added an extra C in there. We have, I think, is 5 of them today, Rick? 6 of them today, which is actually a substantial number of people that are very, very competent in VMware and the virtualization technologies. So there's my commercial. If there's anything else you want to know about MTM, you can ask me today. You can ask Jim. You can ask Paul. We'll be able to help you out. Okay. This is stuff you guys already know, but again, I'm just getting you into the arena. What are the business challenges that you're facing? These are generic, but you're probably shaking your head if you're reading through. Yep, that one we're dealing with. We talked about this one already. Increasing competition is something that's been around basically since the web has been continuing to mature, and people are finding new ways to encroach on your business, on our business, on everybody's business. So we have to be aware of that. Sarbanes-Oxley, HIPAA, Gramm-Leach-Bliley, all these regulations and compliance issues are affecting just about everybody. Is there anybody that's not affected by compliance in the room? Some variety? Okay. Is anybody affected by a new compliance measure in the last 3 years? No? Or the same thing?
Yeah.
What's that?
Homeland Security, probably, because we're on the waterfront.
Homeland Security?
We deal with, waterways and stuff, in and out of ports. So
That's a big one. That's a big one. We went from being a privately held company to a publicly held company. So Sarbanes-Oxley hit us a year ago. So we're dealing with it. Server sprawl. You're going to hear a lot about that today. We're going to hear a lot about server sprawl. Peter's going to talk a bit about. There's actually VMware will talk a bit about. Remind him. There's a nice tool that VMware has, which allows you to look at. It's an Excel spreadsheet which says if there's a new application or new project you're looking to deploy, how many servers are you looking to buy, how much infrastructure you're looking to buy, and it basically will tell you, hey, if you go ahead and deploy the virtualization technology, what kind of return on investment from what you have here. Okay, so he'll talk a bit about that, let you know about that. High cost of building out business continuity solutions. Once had a guy explain the dilemma here, and he explained it in terms of speakers. Like Harman Kardon speakers or Bose speakers. And I didn't understand a speaker. I got speakers, but I buy my speakers at Circuit City. They're $300 wherever there. It's not no big deal. He said, well, they're good. On a scale of 1 to 100, they're probably a 97. But if you want a 98% speaker, your cost rises by an order of magnitude. So he's basically telling me, hey, if you want an okay speaker, you pay $300. If you want great speakers, you'll pay $3,000. And the difference is very minuscule, but if you have a great ear and you're really into it, then you're willing to pay that. Business continuity is the same way, right? How much, people call it butt insurance, ASS insurance. How much insurance do you want to buy, right? You're never going to be fully protected in the business continuity world. Some of the technologies we're going to talk about today will probably get your mind turning. These are fairly inexpensive technologies to deploy that can buy you more insurance. business continuity, more disaster recovery insurance. Challenges facing information technology, you folks. Continued growth in the resources. Anybody's data growing less than 50% a year? Anybody's data growing less than 50% a year? Yeah. Yeah, we usually hear 60% is sort of like the average for hearing. So we're seeing massive growth in information, data. Everybody wants to use it to make their business better. Access scenarios, remote workers. You guys seeing growth in your remote workers in your operation? Yeah? Yeah? What's the biggest challenge you're seeing with that?
We're actually getting ready to start working with Citrix at the end of the next month, so
okay.
We'll find out then.
Yeah,
but they're already asking.
Okay, all right. Multiple dedicated IT infrastructures. This is the old password dilemma. How many passwords do you need to get to the applications that your workers, that your stakeholders need, right? So in the world of certainly of Citrix, they have an application called Password Manager, which is wonderful, which I'm sure Van will touch on for us. But yeah, opportunity to basically have your infrastructure to your end user look like it's just one big infrastructure, even if it's really not. Increasing number of servers, we had low server utilization. The server world's amazing. Has anyone done the server utilization analysis of all the servers in their environment lately? Usually what people find when they do that, if you're like an average company, out of 10 servers that you have, you're going to have at least 3 of them that are utilized less than 20%. Less than 20%.
Which is probably
Average?
What's that?
No, I think if you look at some of the research reports from Gartner, they say the average x86 server is running under 5%.
5%, yeah.
Is that average for the day, or is that PM? I mean, is it different?
That's over, yeah.
Yeah, but when you're hitting spiking, you gotta be ready for the spikes. So it could average out to 5%, but if you spike, on some heavy periods during the day, you gotta be ready for that.
Yeah.
Depending on your business,
The way some businesses build out their infrastructures, they might have dozens of these servers, right? And they're individual smokestacks of information. You can't share, you can't leverage the componentry in a server unless you have the technology, right, to leverage that. So this is one of the areas where VMware and Citrix too can help us, and they do help us to leverage what we have. Growing management, we talked about legacy technology that never goes away, and smaller budgets. We talked about that too. What do these have in common? The original IBM PC, MS-DOS, Lotus 1-2-3, LAN technology. Remember Novell? They're still out there. I saw their stock. I was going past this morning, $8.78. I'm like, hey, yeah, I forgot they're even out there still. They are. They're still out there.
because you only needed 2 servers, not 50.
Right? Virtualization, front end, back end, servers and storage. They've all fundamentally changed IT. That's what we believe. When you look at these different scenarios, these examples, if you think about what they've done, they've inherently changed the way we think about leveraging technology in our business. Okay? So again, what is virtualization? The ability to easily consume and view information, not constrained by physical location or hardware platform. Decouple where information lives from how it's accessed. Okay? So again, virtualize everything. Is anybody already using Citrix? You guys are about to use Citrix? Anthony's using it today? Anyone else? No? How about VMware? A little bit? Okay. ESX, GSX?
Just workstation and age.
Just a workstation? Okay. And we'll talk about that. I'm sure Peter will show us and differentiate what they are. Okay? Any questions so far? No? Okay.
I have one question.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds stupid, but the VMware, what's the Microsoft product? Is that?
Virtual server?
Okay, are you going to compare the two at all?
Peter, will you do that for us?
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
That would be good.
Yeah,
Because
good.
that's what we're looking at now.
You're looking at those two right now?
Well, I'm actually looking at Microsoft. I haven't. That's why I came here today.
Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you asked the question. Is there anything else you guys, before Peter, you jump up, is there anything else you guys, I'm glad you asked that, Anthony. Is there anything else you want to hear today? It's really important. You're spending 90 minutes with us. I want to make sure that you get out of this what you came to hear. Is there anything specific that you want to hear, like Anthony said, he wants to hear specifically about how Microsoft's product and VMware's compares? Yeah.
I know there's a new VMware that's a server edition that you guys are making free. I'd like to learn more about what that one has versus the one that you have to pay for.
Absolutely.
Those two differences, please.
Good. Thank you, Nick. Anything else? No? Okay, good. Peter.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. I've got some business cards up here, so if you want to take a look. But I appreciate being here this morning, and again, as MTM said, VMware, we have plenty of partners, right? We only have a few really good enterprise partners, and so most of the partners can resell our product, but only a few have the VPP or what we call VAC, VMware Authorized Consultant status, and MTM does. So again, talk a little bit about VMware. How about I answer some of the questions up front, right? So basically, VMware, we're actually a fairly young company, been around since 1998. First came out with a workstation product that the gentleman is using, and since then have had huge growth because, as you know, the x86 server, is basically just, the growth has been phenomenal. Right? I think it's far more x86 servers being sold than Unix and mainframes. And the challenge is that you're right, although the average is under 5%, I know certain applications may spike, but they may not spike there all the time, right? They may spike and come down. So you still got, typically, buy one OS and I put one application, and another application, I go and buy another service. That's where you have this huge server sprawl. So we basically have two server products, one called GSX, one called ESX. GSX is what we call a hosted solution, meaning that it sits on top of an OS, right? Microsoft has a product as well called Virtual Server, which is very similar to GSX. GSX could, basically, we obviously have a lot more maturity in the product, but again, similar solution, it sits on top of an OS. So the challenge to that is that if that OS goes down, or it's Patch Tuesday, right, I get a patch, well, guess what happens? My VMs all go down. And because I get a big OS, I can't get many virtual machines on top. I can get maybe 2, 3, 4. So what I managed to decide a couple months ago, the next version of GSX we're going to rename is VMware Server. And that product is in its final beta, although it's just the next release of GSX, so it's pretty solid. And that's going to be coming out late this month, early next month. And the base license we're actually going to give away for free. You're probably, why on earth would we do that? Well, the reason why we do that is that a lot of companies, smaller companies, are just dipping their toe in the water for virtualization, and instead of using Microsoft's product, we like them to use our product, and that's why we're going to provide the base license with no charge. However, the reality is no one in their right mind is really going to consider putting that type of solution in production, right? Because if I can only get 2 or 3 virtual machines and I go patch the OS or the OS blue screens, guess what happens? They'll go down. So that's why I'm going to concentrate more on ESX, which we just call a host list system, meaning that I have my hardware and then I load on what we call a VMFS file system, which in essence is kind of a raw mean OS, right? And that's been optimized. All it does is virtualize machines. So now on a dual proc server on a hosted solution like GSX or Virtual Server, I can get 2, 3, or 4. On an ESX platform, I can get 8, 10, even some customers getting 15. So that's why they kind of see the justification. Now, the future, if you read, there's been a couple of releases by Microsoft. They're saying about 6 months, 8 months after Longhorn releases, which I think Longhorn's going to release around, who knows, right? It's a moving target, but they're saying maybe sometime late next year, right? They're going to come out, they're actually going to scrap virtual service, so they're actually, the product they have, they've realized it's not going to work. They're going to scrap that, and they're going to go an ESX-like capability. We obviously feel that we've had ESX out for 3 years, and another 2 years, we'll have a 5-year lead, and we'll talk about briefly some of the capabilities we have now that we're coming out with. We kind of go beyond. So hopefully that answered the question. We can take it offline too. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
You said that was the next version of GSX that comes out next month or whatever, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. ESX has been out.
Yeah, but it's been out for about 3 years. Okay. So again, if we talk a little bit about VMware, so basically we actually created this marketplace, right? Mm-hmm. About 7 years ago. So it's kind of interesting what happened. So we created, so the market's about this big. Obviously now, with Microsoft coming out with a product, we actually think it's a good thing. Because what's going to happen, it's basically, the market's real now, right? So the market's going to go like this, we're not going to get all of it, but we're going to get, having 99% of this as opposed to, bigger, a lesser share of this is obviously going to be a lot bigger. I mean, we've had tremendous growth. If we kind of go down some of these bullet points, save customers hundreds of millions of dollars. As Rick mentioned, we'd be happy as part of the assessment to do an ROI. So pretty straightforward. If you can be able to tell us how many new servers I'm going to buy this year, right? Either new apps or refreshes. And once you can go up, 5 or 10 new servers, you pretty much have justified the cost. So just to give you an idea, the cost of a dual CPU license for ESX is $5,000 list price. So that's probably about the average cost of a dual CPU server, right? So if I can put 8 to 10 on those, well, guess what? My ROI is huge. So we've got like 99 of the Fortune 100. We went from 10,000 to 20,000 enterprises last year. I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. And again, the third bullet, we actually eclipsed Oracle and Microsoft this last quarter, the fastest growing software company ever. So our revenues went from like 215 million to 475 million last year. So tremendous growth. Again, we partner, with most of the large IT vendors. So again, we're on the x86 platform, right? So again, we support AMD, Intel, HP, IBM, Dell, and actually we're also supporting Sun. Next release next month, if you're running a Solaris 10 guest on an x86 platform, we'll be able to support that as well. So I think, again, the big difference going forward, even with Microsoft, is Microsoft, even though they'll eventually have some type of that hypervisor solution, it's going to be more tightly coupled with the OS, right? We're pretty much saying we're going to support all versions of Windows, Linux, x86, and believe it or not, there's still quite a few Novell users out there as well.
Do you support failover?
That's a very good question. So on the later slides, I'm going to talk about some of those capabilities. Yeah. So again, if you look at kind of where we're having had customer success in, server consolidation, containment. I prefer to talk about containment because everyone wants to do consolidation, but the challenge is if I've got 50, 100, whatever servers in place, if they're running fine, it's going to be hard for me to say, I want to take all those down and virtualize it. So what a lot of customers do is they more look at containment, meaning when those servers are coming up for refresh, that's when they consolidate, right? So I've got to buy, 10 new servers. Instead of buying 10 new physical servers, just buy 1 or 2 and virtualize those. That's how people kind of get started, and then as it kind of grows from that. The business continuity is huge because in the old days, the way people did business continuity, as Rick said, it can be very expensive. If I had, let's say, 20, Windows servers running production, I can replicate to another site, and I've got to have the same physical 20 servers. But not only that, I have to have not only the same manufacturer, but the same model number in order for those to, come up. When in a VMware environment now, because we encapsulate, the server into just a couple of files, those are very easy to move around. So now I've totally hardware independent. So now I can say, okay, 20 servers down to 2 or 3, with 20 VMs. I replicate to another site. I put 2 or 3 physical servers there with copies of the virtual machines. So time to disaster, it's 15 minutes to bring my virtual infrastructure up and running. And I can have HP here, I can have IBM here, or Dell, or whatever. So really tremendous cost savings in business continuity. We're seeing a lot of customers, maybe a contracts with companies like Sundown, canceling those contracts and going in-house. And that's why you want to kind of use a partner like MTM to help design that type of solution for you. Test development is a kind of obvious one. That's where kind of VMware grew up, right? That's kind of our roots. Because, typically what happens, one of your users comes and says, you know what, you bring this new application out, 3-tier application, it's always a minimum of 3 servers, right? 3-tier app. And I need these servers, like, I've got to have them, like, in a couple days, right? Well, guess what? How long does it take you, right? It takes you maybe a couple of weeks to, create a purchase rec, get the PO, get to the manufacturer, then I bring the servers in, I got to rack stack them, and you're normally a couple of weeks out. We'll show you the ability how we can create virtual machines on the fly through templates, basically 15 to 20 minutes. And you can test it. In fact, we have an organization in the area, Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab. And they told me that she basically created templates and she timed it, right? Guess how long it took her to develop a virtual machine? 57 seconds. Now that's not the norm, right? We don't say it's normal. Still, she created. So we pretty much say 15, 20 minutes.
Is that the SLA, 57
50 seconds. Then now you want to keep it about a week, right? And you look like a hero when you give it to them in 57 seconds. And then also some enterprise desktop capabilities as well. So, again, as Rick said, what is server virtualization? Again, this is the old way, right? I've got one, I've got one OS and I've got one app, and I don't know if you want to blame Microsoft, whoever, but again, that's becoming very inefficient because what's happening is virtualization is really not new, right? Again, I'm not old enough or haven't been around this industry long enough to be in the mainframe days in the 60s, but virtualization's been around in the mainframe area for quite a while, right? Create basically these LPARs of running multiple machines in a mainframe. In the Unix area, it's the same, right? I can take a big Sun box, a big HP IBM Unix box, I can slice it up into multiple machines. So what we're really doing is we're taking that same architecture and putting it into an x86 environment. So now again, I've got multiple virtual machines running on a physical platform. If we just take a look at some of the key features, again, so the first one is partitioning, right? So I can basically slice that server up into multiple OSs. So again, I think the key here is that on ESX we've done this for 3 years, right? Microsoft, a year and a half, this is what they're going to come out with, right? They're going to come out with just this capability. The isolation, each of them are totally isolated, and that's very important. So that means that if one of them goes down, it's not going to bring everybody else down. And again, I only cover the corporate accounts in Maryland, but my federal counterparts tell me the NSA has tried to hack that isolation. They haven't been able to do it. So we're pretty confident that isolation is pretty strong. And then the key, this is kind of the magic here, right? The encapsulation. So I basically encapsulate all the information as far as memory, disk, CPU, all the configurations into a couple files, or sometimes a single file. And now that gives me the ability to move that around and do a lot of interesting things. Hardware independence is important as well, because we have a lot of customers that maybe can somehow leverage their hardware vendors a little bit, right? If I can run this on multiple different hardware platforms, it gives me the ability to kind of leverage some of my costs as well. vMotion, as Anthony?
Yes.
Yeah. So you talked about failover, because that's a good point, because what happens is if I can put 8, 10, 12, 15 VMs on a physical server, right? Well, that's great, but if that server goes down, guess what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of be in trouble.
Times 10.
Exactly, times 10. You've got like 10 people calling you like in the next 30 seconds, right? So what we find is a lot of customers who have 20, 30, 50, even some customers 100 servers, they say, what, I can't justify a storage area network or any type of shared storage environment because I've got all these servers, and if I had to put HBAs and all these servers, it would be cost prohibitive. There's no way I can do it. Well, what we find is if you can consolidate, right, I go from 100 servers down to 15, 20, then I just need HBAs in those 15 or 20 servers. I create multiple virtual machines. And what that gives the ability is something we call vMotion, or what a lot of our customers refer to as vMagic. So remember I said we encapsulate those files. If I assume that I've got some type of shared storage environment down here, right? Today, vMotion is only supported on a fiber channel SAN, but next month there's a major release from us in mid-June, and we're going to be able to support iSCSI and NAS as well for vMotion. So again, a lot of folks still say, what, fiber channel SAN is still a little bit steep for me, but an iSCSI shared storage environment is pretty cost effective. So what vMotion gives the ability to do is take a running virtual machine, and remember, the VMFS is a shared file system, right? So everything's pointed to that file system, and we have the locking mechanisms to lock out the writes and reads. So take a running virtual machine and move it from one server to another with zero downtime. And you're probably looking at me and think I'm crazy. But we actually challenge you. VMware is pretty liberal as far as evaluations go. You can go and download a copy of ESX when you go back to your office right now. We're pretty liberal, and the reason being is, because the product works, right? So we have a pretty high success rate that what we say we can do, we can do.
So it's a manual move. You can't set it up.
That's a great segue, right? So today, in 2.5, it's a manual move.
Okay.
In 3.0, we're gonna bring out two capabilities, add-on products. The first one is going to be called Distributed Availability Services. So what that's going to do is, so clustering is I'm failing an app over, right, from one to another. And if you ever use Microsoft clustering, it's not the easiest tool to use. So what we're going to do is, what Dad's going to do is, it's going to automatically restart. So what's going to mean is, if I've got 10 VMs running here, right, and this, for whatever reason, if the hardware dies or just the VM dies, basically our virtual sandwich, our management will detect that and automatically restart them on another server. So because it's very easy, it takes probably less than a minute to restart a virtual machine. By the time you got a page, that virtual machine will be up and running.
Now, is this so they're sharing storage, or you could have
exactly
this
assumes exactly. This assumes you need to have a shared storage environment. Again, a SAN or a NAS or an iSCSI.
Can you do it with not shared? The storage
No.
of all can't do that.
Because what happens is we've got all those ESX servers looking at that same run, right? Yeah, we have to have that shared storage. I mean, the other way people do it is if I've got two separate ones, right? Then I could I could put copies. So I could have whatever 5 or 10 here. I could make copies on the other server, and then I could either do snapshots or I have to use my backup.
Right.
So I could get up, but it's going to be a manual process. Now what DRS does is it's called Distributed Resource Scaling. That's a very interesting capability. Is that today, if I've got 2 or 3 ESX servers, right, it's pretty easy to figure out which server I'm going to put a new virtual machine on. But if I'm someone like Bank of America down in Charlotte, it's got like 300 ESX servers and 2,000 virtual machines. It's kind of very much a manual process. So what DRS will do is be automatic load balancing. So when I can say, I want to run my server at 50% utilization, and then when a DRS will automatically move them around. So when you said you have a spike, right? One application spikes, well, guess what will happen? It'll move those VMs off, those other VMs off onto another server.
Oh, this capability is now? Or
This
is it
is
coming out?
where, again, it's a 3 weeks time. So we think, realistically, if you have to look at this, you're going to be looking to new release. Now what it'll also do is, you can also have the ability to create virtual pools, right? So right now, although it's very easy to create a virtual machine, it takes a couple of minutes. Some customers say, I don't even want to hassle with that. I don't even want to create a virtual machine. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to basically create a pool of resources of so much CPU, disk, memory, because I've got multiple ESX servers. They're all in the shared storage environment. I give them that pool, and I give it to them, and they can create as many virtual machines as they want. So we really are kind of coming into this, I guess we've been talking about for years, this utility computing kind of, on-demand capability. We're kind of moving a lot closer to that with these capabilities. So I think the good thing is, again, we obviously expect competition from Microsoft. There's an open source initiative called Zen. We're continuing to innovate, and we think that we kind of, got a tremendous amount of capabilities now. And in the future, we will be talking about some more interesting capabilities coming down the line later this year as well. So think about that's a good one. Zero downtime maintenance, right? So vMotion. So a lot of customers, want to do maintenance on my servers. Well, what do I have to do? I have to come on the weekend, in the middle of the night. But now with vMotion, I can vMotion off, all on another ESX server. I can do my maintenance on the hardware, vMotion back. So a lot of capabilities. I can, test new patches, bring them back. So vMotion, is providing a tremendous amount of capabilities for customers. So again, taking a look at the whole, kind of virtual infrastructure. So what we're seeing is, when people start looking at this, right, they're pretty hesitant. Geez, I'm not sure I want to virtualize everything, right? But and that's understandable. I'm going to, put a couple of test dev servers in, a couple of low-end domain controllers. But once they're comfortable, then just go wide. And we find, big customers like Marriott, Discovery, what they're doing right now is they're saying, when a new application comes on board, we need to see the reason why we can't virtualize it as opposed to saying cannot virtualize it. So they're looking kind of at wall-to-wall virtualization. Again, what's also coming in the next release, today, in order to run a virtual machine, that virtual machine can see 2 virtual CPUs and up to 3.6 gig of RAM today. Again, in June, we go up to 4-way SMP and up to 16 gig of RAM. So that's why we're saying kind of wall-to-wall. So now, things like Oracle, Exchange, we have a lot of people virtualizing Citrix servers. We have a pretty good white paper on our website that talks about the throughput on virtualizing Citrix servers, and you can kind of go across the board. So again, why? So you know, if I need 20 Citrix servers, right? Why do I need to go and buy 20 physical servers, right? Rather buy a few more physical servers. I mean, you know, a few physical servers, and I can maybe buy a few more licenses of Citrix and VMware. Give us the money rather than the hardware guys, right? Okay, so next one. So if again, we just talk about, we've talked kind of briefly on this, you know, the consolidation containment's huge, right? It's kind of a no-brainer. Again, if you need 5 or 10 new servers this year, we can show you that ROI. And that's just the hard ROI, right? Think about the soft ROI. You know, a customer says, hey, I need 3 new servers. Well, you can have it in half an hour, as opposed to 3 weeks. We can't gauge what those savings are, but you know that they're obviously pretty big. Again, we talked about business continuity, cost effective, right? As opposed, hey, it's no way. There's no way my management is gonna replicate all my, you know, Windows servers to another site. Again, it's not going to happen. But the ability in virtual machines to create copies and put them on the other site is very cost effective. Test dev is huge. You know, we find a lot of customers, they'll build these test dev farms, and then nobody turns them off, right? They just sit there running. So total waste of space. The ability now to clone, and once you've done the test, you know, blow it away and create a new virtual machine in minutes. So adds a lot of flexibility. And then obviously desktop management and security as well. So, you know, again, talking about slashing costs, you know, it's pretty obvious. We talked about the hardware costs. Again, this is a big one, right? So again, I say, you know, challenge you. Typically people normally refresh servers probably every 3 or 4 years. And the reason for that is the server may be in good shape, but what happens is the hardware vendors typically sell like a 3-year maintenance package with a server. Well, in that 4th year, what happens? The maintenance goes like this. So the server may be in good shape, but
sometimes it's the fact of you need to upgrade, so it's easier to keep that thing in place, get a new server online, do the upgrade, bring it over, than taking down a system that's in production to upgrade it. You don't want to do that. Exactly.
Yeah. But I'm saying, but that's kind of the good time to kind of look at, you know, kind of getting started, because for the cost of a few new servers, I can kind of I can get VMware in place for the same cost. Again, we talked about, you know, reduced data center infrastructure costs. You know, you can imagine your heating and cooling, all of that comes down.
Can I ask you a question? So let's say I got 8 virtual servers running, and this one application we want to upgrade. I'm on a load balance environment like you were explaining before. Can I say for this virtual session 5, just, you know, don't load balance anymore because I'm going to do the upgrade on this other set, and until I upgrade it, and then I'll move it over. You know what I mean?
Oh, exactly. So there's a lot of flexibility, right?
There's flexibility in that word.
Of course. So you can either say automatically just run on, you know, use the software kind of brains of the parts that you, or you can say, you know what, tell me when you're going to do it, and then do it. Or there's a lot of different.
So I can keep load balancing for some sessions, and other ones I could say
Absolutely.
don't do it because I'm in the middle of upgrading one side. Okay.
Oh, actually, there's a lot of flexibility. Yeah. I mean, just to give you an example, we've had, then we got like 3,400 people on this beta. So if you go to our forums, I mean, you can see that this new release is pretty solid. Okay. So again, I talked about a bit of this before, right? So you can see kind of that timeline, right? Without VMware, right? Determine the specs, you know, put a PO in the system, rack and stack. I mean, again, that's normally a couple of weeks, right? If you're good, you can get that down to 57 seconds. You know, we say half an hour, you know, a couple hours. But the nice thing is we have a management console called Virtual Center. And not only can manage all the individual servers, but it can also create templates. that I can create different Windows or Linux, whatever templates, and then now when you have a new app or new virtual machine, I just boot this template out, and that's why I can kind of reduce that cost. What else was I going to say? So again, virtual center. So again, another example on the VMware server and ESX. We have some organizations like a Marriott, right, or some of the big banks. What they're doing is they're saying, you know what, for my data center, I'm going to use ESX because that's kind of my high production applications. But you know, I got all these properties or maybe all these bank branches, and what we're going to do is I'm going to take the VMware server, the free base license, and put that in the individual branches. Now, Virtual Center Management Console, that can manage both servers. So I can manage one for both. The only additional cost is that if I want to have support for VMware Server, I can pay for that, right? And we're not going to give you free support. Give you a free base license. And then for the Virtual Center agents, if I want to manage GSX and ESX, it would be a cost for the agents. But again, the base license, kind of is no charge. So again, we talked a little bit about, we could talk about ESX server. The virtual SMP is the ability to create more than one virtual CPU. For the server, we talked about Virtual Center, vMotion, the P2V utility. So you're probably thinking, okay, well, if I go and do some testing and I figure, okay, this thing works as it is, well, how am I going to take my physical servers and convert them into virtual? So we have what we call a P2V migration tool. And again, the cost is pretty low. For $6,000, we actually include 2 days of services. That one of our partners, MTM, will come in and actually do some of the P2Vs for you and do a knowledge transfer. So that's a way to kind of bring those physical servers into a virtual environment. And at the bottom, again, the ROI is kind of a no-brainer. We'll be happy to do that for you. I think that's about it. So I appreciate your time, and again, we'll be happy to come to you with MTN or on our own. We'll work through them. I have a dedicated engineer, so again, you can go and download a copy when you go back to the office, and we'd be happy to help you with the install as well. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Good job, Peter. Just so everyone knows as well, before Ben kicks it off with Citrix, we also have in the back of the room Rick Catalano. Rick, you put your hand up. Rick is one of our managing consultants for MTM, and